You know those cases that keep you up at night? Yep, this is one of those. On August 30th, 2005, Paris Talley, who was only 28 days old, was placed in a microwave and cooked by her mother, China Arnold, in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
Here are some celebrities with the most kids, except each time it gets bigger.
All right.
Robert De Niro has 7 kids from 4 different women spanning decades. The youngest and oldest have a 51-year age gap between them. Alec Baldwin has 7 kids with his current wife and 1 daughter with his ex-wife, making a total of 8 kids. Clint Eastwood has 8 kids, with the oldest being born in 1954 and the youngest being in 1996. NFL player Tyreek Hill claimed that he has 10 children, but the true number is unknown because at one point, 3 different women all came forward claiming that they were pregnant with his kid, all within just 4 months. Eddie Murphy has a confirmed 10 kids with 5 different women, with the oldest being 34 and the youngest being 5. He keeps a good relationship with them all, and when he returned to SNL, all of them were in the audience. Nick Cannon is well known as being a professional breeder with 12 kids with 6 different women, his oldest being twins with Mariah Carey. And some of these names are quite interesting, like Powerful Queen Cannon, Beautiful Zeppelin Cannon, and Rise Messiah Cannon. I think he's running out of names. Bob Marley has 12 different children with 8 different women, 3 of them being with his widow and the rest being with various Jamaican women. And half of the kids all pursued music themselves. Before DMX passed away, he had a whopping 17 children with 11 different women. I guess you could say he really does have that dog in him.
This is the show.
Got that dog in him, bro. That's what they say, man. But that's just freaking crazy, bro. I kept increasing. I don't see how some people do, man. Especially Nick Cannon, bro. I saw a meme, bro, of him. This like how Nick Cannon be on Father's Day was Lucius Fox. Look at all the screens of the Dark Knight, bro. I'm just like, that's the same amount of kids. But hey, to each their own, I guess.
Truth behind Moana. Lilo from Lilo and Stitch is actually Moana. She actually died at the beginning of the movie Moana, in the scene where her boat crashed and her leg gets stuck under a piece of coral, drowning her. And this is the reason why she's able to communicate with her dead grandmother, and also explains why she's able to follow Maui, who's a demigod, into the underworld. Maui is her guardian angel, and his task is to take her to Tahiti, which represents heaven, and the whole movie is her journey to the
Creepy urban legends that turned out to be true, part 2. A construction worker knocks down a wall only to discover a bare skeleton staring back at him. Well, in 2011, while renovating the 2nd floor of a bank, workers discovered the bones of Joseph Schecksnyder, who had been missing for 27 years. It's believed that he may have gotten stuck in the chimney after attempting to break into the bank all the way back in 1984. An old woman was buried after being declared dead, after which the body was exhumed, only for the family to find scratch marks on the coffin lid, among other signs of attempted escape. And as it turns out, premature burials were actually somewhat common in the 19th century. In fact, over 200 separate incidences were documented of people being buried alive during that time. Remember, the medical profession during that time wasn't an exact science.
5 signs you might
That's
be
insane.
genius. You talk to yourself. Albert Einstein was often found talking to himself. You worry a lot. Isaac Newton was a chronic worrywart. You have social anxiety. Charles Darwin had debilitating social anxiety. You're a night owl. Nikola Tesla only slept 4 hours per night. And you're a dreamer. Einstein's theory of relativity came to him in a dream about cows. Follow for more.
You were genius seekers? Tell me down below.
This is why you should never stay in sketchy motels. In 2005, a young woman on a solo road trip across the country decided to stop for the night. The first place she sees is the Mountaintop Motel. It looked pretty cheap, but she was tired, so she said good enough. The check-in guy eyed her up and down very uncomfortably and then asked her if she was traveling alone. She ignores the question, pays for her room, and then walks away with the key. When she gets inside her room and sees there are literally cockroaches in her bed, she says nope and decides to sleep in her car in the parking lot. Around 3 a.m., she wakes up to see the check-in guy using his own keys to get into the motel room she was supposed to be in. A few minutes later, he storms out and slams the door and starts walking towards her car. Terrified, she hides under her blanket as the man tries to open her car doors but can't and walks away. She speeds off and calls her friend and asks her to look up the address of Mountaintop Motel so she can give it to police. Her friend's quiet for a second and then just says, "The Mountaintop Motel closed a week ago."
Where was she at, bro?
Deep web footage that got leaked.
I'm gonna have to call edit on this one. You guys know we're getting better at spotting them out. If you see any edits, man, comment down below. That was definitely an edit. I'm gonna have to call cap on that one. We're getting better and better at spotting them seekers, man, with each and every single video. I'm glad you guys have been catching on too. Like I said, we update our knowledge base together. Another one, man.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. This sweet looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. This photo of Richard Hickok and Perry Smith shows two murderers after hearing that they'd been sentenced to death. They murdered a family of 4 and planned to rob them, but they found nothing worth stealing except for a mere $50. The girl on the left is wearing a wire. The girl on the right has no idea. Together they stabbed one of their friends to death, and the girl on the left confessed to the police and is now cooperating with them. Besides the pixelation, this looks like a couple getting married surrounded by their loved ones. However, all the children in this photo were horribly physically and mentally abused until a couple of them managed to escape.
This is an actually true, real
Insane.
medical fact that sounds completely fake, but it is actually really true, I promise. Sometimes, babies are born without a butthole. There is a condition called imperforate anus, which is as scary as it sounds. This happens at birth, where sometimes the hole can be blocked or missing altogether, and sometimes the rectum could connect to the colon and lead to different openings, which cause some stool to come out of other areas of the baby. If my baby started shitting out of its dick, I'd be calling a fucking exorcist instead of the doctor. Luckily, it is treatable, and to put it simply, the baby's given an artificial or enlarged hole and given a colostomy. This allows their stool to drain into a bag that can eventually be removed in a few months. What's even crazier about this fact, though, is that it's actually incredibly common with every 1 out of 5,000 babies. To put this in perspective, over 10,000 babies are born a day just in the United States alone. I'm not the best at math, but that's at least 2 babies per day born without a butthole. And to put it even more in perspective, the average NFL stadium holds 60,000 people, which means at least 12 people in that stadium have...
This is why you should never live next to crazy people.
That's a crazy
In
fact.
2015, a girl who was totally fed up with her noisy neighbors finally worked up the courage to go over there and tell them to be quiet. She knocks on the door, and out walks this insane-looking old woman who just starts hissing at her. And she doesn't stop hissing at her until the girl finally just leaves. She considers calling the police, but ultimately just goes back to her room and goes to bed. But she wakes up a couple hours later when she hears that same hissing sound. Her first thought is there's no way this can be my neighbor, because she had her door locked. But then she notices there's a big lump right next to her in her bed, and she reaches over to check who it is. Her crazy neighbor leaps out of bed and runs into the closet.
This is proof that we weren't alone. Why does this mountain have stripes?
I kind of do see the stripes on them. Maybe it is formed that way? If that's true, then who put the stripes there? That's the
It was
real
called
question.
Butter, and its size was approximately 600 feet tall. The legend is that a group of girls were out playing when they came across gigantic bears. To escape the bears, the girls climbed to the top of the summit and prayed to the Great Spirit. The Great Spirit heard their prayers and caused the rock to rise up from the ground out of the reach of the bears. The bears tried to climb up to get them and dug their claws in the rock to gain grip, but kept sliding down because it was too steep for them to climb. The bear's claws scratched the straight marks that are seen to this day.
You guys believe that story? Or think it's just a completely different explanation? I'm gonna leave that to you guys. What's this? This is gonna be interesting.
It's getting attention and stuff. stuff is kind of weird. There's no feud, so for us, it's kind of like we just laugh about it 'cause there's nothing there.
You guys are like good friends.
Yeah, we're on an okay level. It's cool.
Are you guys ever gonna do like those dance off that Miley does with the AC/DC?
No, I'm not a dancer, so I leave that up to her.
Selena, the front neck smile. Selena, hold that right there, big smile.
But nah, I heard it's because she had a condition, lupus, so you know that's why she looked like that.
Honestly, this is an absolute dream come true. I literally have grown up watching this show.
Okay.
I'm 18 years old. One Heaven phone call. This is a random Heaven phone call, okay? Nothing too serious. If it was serious, I'd call grandma, grandpa, uncle I never got to meet, someone like that. Unserious Heaven phone call. Who are you calling? Personally?
I bet you didn't know these creepy facts that'll probably make you uncomfortable. There are at least 6 people out there that look exactly like you. And there's a 9% chance that you'll meet one of them in your lifetime. The author of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, kept her deceased husband's heart for almost 30 years, until she died in 1851. A year later, his heart was found in a desk drawer, wrapped in a copy of one of his last poems. A book of spells written in the 1500s details how you can actually summon the nun, who is actually a demon named Valak. In the 1930s, a baby fell from a very high up window and landed on a man walking down the street below. Both the baby and the man survived. A year later, that same baby fell from that same window and landed on the same man. Again, they both survived. Dorothy Kinnaman, a panelist on the hit TV show What's My Line, died under mysterious circumstances while investigating the JFK assassination. Shortly before she died, she was quoted telling a friend, "I'm going to break the real story and have the biggest scoop of the century. If you can't get enough of true crime and horror, you should go follow my boyfriend. That way you can have double the true crime and double the horror." He's tagged right here.
That JFK story, man, that's chilling. You know what happens to people, man, who try to expose the truth on like historical events. Sometimes people don't like it when they get too close to it, man. They'll do anything to shut that story down. I wonder what the real truth is about.
The deadliest candy in the world. This powdered candy was banned because it was basically just a jar full of lead. It was called Lucas's Mexican Candy, and it was advertised as a way to spice up your foods by adding artificial lemon flavoring. But most kids just ate it straight from the bottle. In 2004, the FDA discovered that it had twice the legal limit of lead per gram. This prompted a massive panic and recall of the entire stock of this candy, and it remains banned to this day. Like, follow, and share for more strange facts.
Be careful what you eat.
So it looks like it is actually happening. North Korea is reportedly about to send 12,000 troops to Russia to fight on the front lines, and that's according to South Korea's spy agency, who labeled it as a grave security threat. Now, the reason that this is being treated as such a big deal is because up until this point, officially, both Russia and Ukraine have only received weapons from their respective allies, and this deployment from North Korea would mark the first time that a third country is directly getting involved in the conflict with actual troops. And that's a move that Zelensky called the first step to a world war.
One of my favorite Saw traditions is back. For those who don't know, for every Saw movie that comes out, they have a Saw blood drive. It's a partnership with the Red Cross. They did it for the very first Saw movie as a way to promote the film. If you come and give us some blood, we give you free tickets to see the movie. But the original filmmakers saw how successful this was. They saw how many people came out to donate blood, and they decided they wanted to do it again, but just to mostly help people than anything. And they did this for the Saw movies 1 through 8. And by the time Saw 8, aka Jigsaw, finished its promotional campaign, over 360,000 total lives have been saved because of the Saw franchise. I did make a video talking about this back in 2021. Wow, the difference a few years makes. They had to skip over the blood drive for Spiral, I'm assuming because of COVID-related reasons, but now it's back for Saw X, and the posters look so good. They're also advertising all blood types are accepted from all people, which is amazing.
Good way to save people, man. That's actually one of the most cleverest, I guess, promotions tied into a movie I've ever seen.
Here's the truth behind Shrek. Okay, who remembers the scene in Shrek when the bears are locked up by Lord Farquaad? Daddy and Mommy Bear are trapped together while the baby is in a separate cage. If you look closely, you can see Mama Bear has a pink bow on her head. Later in the movie, you can see Daddy Bear and Baby Bear are free, but Baby Bear is crying. So the question is, where's Mama Bear? Well, here's your answer.
What? You know how many times I watched the Shrek movie as a kid? I never noticed that. The little details of this movie, man. That's crazy. I never knew that. I didn't put two and two together, man. When you're a kid, you don't pay attention to that stuff.
I bet you didn't know this about the world. Part 1. Information travels in the brain at 260 miles per hour. Your hair contains tiny amounts of gold. The ocean contains almost 200,000 viruses. Your mind wanders 30% of the time. Sudan has the most pyramids of all countries.
Wow. You have gold hair, bro.
Here are some Disney Channel stars that went to jail, but each time the crime gets worse. Mitchell Musso, who played Oliver Oaken on Hannah Montana, was pulled over in 2011 for suspicion of drunk driving. Being only 20, he blew over the legal limit and was arrested and released on bail. Because of this, his character was written out of Pair of Kings, and his show Prank Wars was cancelled. Adam Hicks, who played Luther on Zeke and Luther and had a starring role in Lemonade Mouth, was arrested a couple times, most recently for armed robbery with his girlfriend. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to mental health evaluations, and eventually he was given a 5-year sentence for armed robbery, but he's now currently on parole and making music on TikTok. Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby, was arrested and charged for manslaughter after killing a 21-year-old girl while drunk driving. He was originally given a 5-year sentence, but the court suspended 4 years due to his work with prison-based theater groups that performed in jails, churches, and schools to highlight the negative consequences of drug abuse. Upon release, he was given 2 years probation and 350 hours of community service.
Never knew that, man. Mr. Mosby? What the hell is going on?
To live on the ocean. The Bajau people found on the waters of Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. It's understood they've retained this lifestyle for around 1,000 years. They spend most of the day diving into the ocean, hunting fish and other sea creatures. But here's where things get really interesting. They can hold their breath underwater for up to 13 minutes and dive as far down as 60 meters. Due to the pressure of the water that far down, some actually pierce their eardrums, which is actually really bad for them. Some go deaf. Now, the reason they're able to hold their breaths underwater for so long is because they evolved larger spleens in comparison to other humans, providing more oxygen to their blood. Their spleens tend to be at least 50% larger than their own. Isn't that interesting? These are the world's
mermaids?
Starting at number 4, Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Kerry Walton, the caretaker of his doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home. Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3, Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2, Annabelle, known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren. We do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll, because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone. And the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters.
Ooh.
Also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
I wouldn't.
There was a 6-year-old guest at one of Diddy's white parties, and he's revealed everything he saw. Justin Litovsky, now 30, along with his father David Allen and mother Maya, were invited to an afternoon barbecue in 1999. But when they arrived, it turned out that they were actually at one of Diddy's infamous white parties. Litovsky went on to tell the New York Post that he recalled seeing lots of drugs and naked women, but they didn't see people having sex. However, according to Justin's mother, they did leave at 9:30 p.m.
This guy was rated by the FBI for AI generating music on Spotify, and he earned an 8-figure fortune while doing it. 52-year-old Michael Smith of North Carolina is a music producer, or maybe more of just an AI prompt writer in this particular case, because he used AI to generate music, uploaded it to Spotify and Apple Music, and would then send swarms of listening bots to stream the music and get paid for it. Yes, AI generated music streamed by bots. This really is the dead internet theory coming to life. He's currently being charged with wire fraud conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering conspiracy, totaling to a combined maximum of 60 years in prison. But many are quick to point out that he technically didn't break any direct laws, as music streaming fraud isn't a crime. Yet. It is against streaming platforms like Spotify terms of service for sure, but company policy is not the same as the law. He first found out how to send listening bots to his songs on streaming platforms without getting detected back in 2017. But he realized he'd get caught real quick. Just a small handful of his songs by an unknown artist got billions of views. So when AI generated music first became a thing, he saw the opportunity of a lifetime. Working with the CEO of an AI music company, he started producing hundreds of thousands of songs generated by AI to send his army of listening bots to, made under thousands of different fake artist names like Calio Bloom, Callus Humane, Callus Ness, Com Baseball, Com Innovation, and Com Knuckles. Clearly AI generated. Even the album art was AI generated. Like, what in the f*** is this? And even weirder song names like Zygo Fissier, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce these, in combination with thousands of fake names, emails, accounts, and VPNs to help make his streams look as legitimate as possible. He collected a total of $10 million in royalties from the music streaming giants between 2017 and 2024, racking in over $1 million a year. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a sample of any of his songs anywhere online, as they've all been scrubbed clean from every music streaming platform and website I could find. But let me know if any of you come across them. I'd love to listen me some Calio Bloom and hear just what kind of AI music was topping the charts all these years.
Crazy social media.
Goes to show you, man, he was hacking the system, man. It goes to show you, bro, like how, like these artists and stuff, the stats and stuff, I guess, on Spotify and Apple Music, how it can be easily manipulated, bro, if they just be sending bots. So you never know whose numbers are real or not. He hacked the system, bro.
Media facts you won't believe. The most liked post on Instagram is an egg. It broke records with over 55 million likes. There's more TikTok users than cars on Earth. In 2022, TikTok surpassed Google as the most visited site in the world. Mr. Beast once opened 300 restaurants in one day. Now what's more crazy than that is that Rode is giving away $250,000 in cash. Plus amazing prices from Rode and their partners like Fujifilm, Atmos, and lots more. It doesn't matter if you're into ASMR, video gaming, or podcasting. You just need to use a Rode product and pick one of 22 categories. Don't miss out on your shot to be part of the Rode Creator of the Year Awards. Head to creatoroawards.rode.com to...
Things you didn't know about farts. Deep sea divers are unable to fart due to the water pressure. The stomach cannot form any gas bubbles, so we can rest easy that nobody farted on the ocean gate and hotboxed everyone in there. This is also why the opposite is true on airplanes. The air pressure makes gas expand and then escape, so farts increase up to 30% while in the air. Herrings communicate by farting through a process It's called fart, which stands for fast repetitive tick. They expel bubbles out of their butt, which makes a high-pitched pop that only other herrings can hear. The Yanomami people in Venezuela and Brazil greet each other by farting. The part of the fart that makes it smell is hydrogen sulfide, which is just 1% of the average fart. You can actually measure how bad your fart really is. Researchers have developed a fart meter that is an electric sensor that can measure the level of hydrogen sulfide after you fart. Maggots have been used to help heal open wounds for centuries, and scientists have now discovered a compound in maggot farts that help kill bacteria. The average person farts 14 times a day, which comes out to about 105 billion farts worldwide every day, which adds up to about 55 billion gallons of human farts added to the atmosphere.
Normal. That's insane facts about farts. What the hell, man? Like I said, tap in with us, bro. You're gonna learn some interesting facts. I didn't even know farts. There was that many farts in the damn world.
Looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. This sweet-looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal-looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. This photo of Richard Hickok and Perry Smith shows two murders after hearing that they'd been sentenced to death. They murdered a family of 4 and planned to rob them, but they found nothing worth stealing except for a mere $50. The girl on the left is wearing a wire. The girl on the right has no idea. Together they stabbed one of their friends to death, and the girl on the left confessed to the police and is now cooperating with them. Besides the pixelation, this looks like a couple getting married surrounded by their loved ones. However, all the children in this photo were horribly physically and mentally abused until a couple of them managed to escape.
These are 8 horrifying facts
Crazy.
that will probably keep you up at night. In ancient Rome, soldiers used to drink fresh, warm blood to cure epilepsy. There are antidepressants that eliminate someone's ability to feel love and compassion. The Exorcist movie resulted in many of its cast dying, including 2 actors whose characters died in the movie. In 2017, an asteroid named AG-13 passed by our home planet with less than the distance of the moon. Scientists saw it coming only 2 days before it could have hit Earth. One of the most haunted dolls is Robert. It belonged to a child named Eugene in 1904. The 2 most dangerous books are called Shams al-Ma'arif and Al-Ghazali. They carry rituals for summoning demons. In ancient England, people used tops of hollowed human skulls to drink and eat. At Harvard University, there's a book bound in human skin, like for part 6.
Crazy ass facts, especially about how they used to use human skulls, man. They eat out of them. The world back then, man.
Weird facts about the human body that I bet you didn't know. Your fingernails grow 4 times faster than your toenails. Children have more taste buds than adults do. Humans are the only animals who shed a tear when they are sad. Babies are born with 300 bones, but adults have 206. Every day a human makes half a quart of spit. The smallest bone in your body is in your ear. Boys are more colorblind than girls. We already knew that. Eyelashes last 150 days. Your blood has the same amount of salt as the ocean does. The heart circulates blood through your body 1,000 times a day. A sneeze blows air out of your nose at 100 miles an hour. Did you know that you are taller in the morning than you are at night?
1 in a billion coincidences. A man in New Jersey bought a $5 bottle of orange juice back in 2018, but the moment he got home, his wife told him to go back to the store and return it because it was too expensive. He went back to the store and decided to buy 2 Powerball tickets with the refunded money. And the next day, he ended up winning the $300 million jackpot. This guy caught the exact same fish 2 months after already catching it. Harry John Patch was the last surviving soldier from World War I. He died at the age of 111 years, 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. Tom Cruise divorced all 3 of his ex-wives the year they turned 33, and each is 11 years younger than the last. The first person to ever die during the construction of the Hoover Dam was this man named J.J. Thomas, who died on December 20th, 1922. On the same exact day, 14 years later, the last person died. And that man was J.J.'s son, Patrick.
Damn, that is like some weird coincidences, bro. You know, like how things have to line up in the universe or something to like happen like that. Especially about the thing about the Powerball, man. Like one simple like choice could it can change the course of your life, man. Crazy to think about, Seekers.
So this murdered Texas couple's missing baby has finally been found after 42 years. And the story is crazy. Let's take a look. So in 1981, Dean Klaus, his wife Tina Lynn, and their baby Holly disappeared without a trace in East Texas. The only clue was from an anonymous caller who said that he had found Dean's car in California. And he claimed that 3 women in white robes drove it from Texas to California. Police were actually able to track down one of the women who called herself Sister Susan, and she claimed that Dean had joined a cult and renounced all earthly possessions. And she wouldn't tell them anything else. It actually wasn't until late last year that human remains found around the same time were confirmed to be Dean and Tina's. Dean had been beaten to death and Tina had been strangled. But that didn't answer what happened to Holly. This year, investigators were searching for human remains around where Dean and Tina were found. And that's when they got a genetics hit that Holly was alive and in Oklahoma. But get this, when they were talking to Holly, they found out that she had been left on the steps of a church in Arizona by none other than 3 women in white robes. Investigation is still pending, and they are really trying to figure out who these white-robed women are. But for now, at least we know that Holly is alive and well.
Facts about the human body you didn't know.
Bro.
Now I know when you're about to fall asleep, you have this weird falling sensation, right? But that's actually called a hypnic jerk. And it happens because your brain thinks you're dying, so it jerks you awake. And if you've ever sneezed super hard, consider yourself lucky that you didn't break a rib. Because yes, it's possible, and it's much easier than you think. And if you didn't know, that burning sensation you have just before throwing up is actually the acid fumes from your stomach's acid. And while we're talking about that, your stomach acid is actually so strong that it can melt through metal. But the only reason it doesn't burn through your stomach is because your stomach lining has a mucus layer protecting it. And finally, if your skin starts peeling after you've had a sunburn, consider yourself lucky, because that's just your skin cells dying to avoid becoming cancerous.
Man, I didn't know Africa's stomach acid was strong enough to melt through metal. The human body. Learning new things about that joint.
Morbid Facts, Part 27. The Scold's Bridle was a device used to publicly humiliate women until the 19th century. On the inside, the device had a metal plate that would press down on the tongue and prevent the wearer from speaking. It was placed on women who were said to be troublesome to keep them quiet and prevent them from gossiping. In 2007, a man from Florida woke up in the middle of the night with a severe headache. After he drove to the hospital, doctors found a bullet in his head. It turned out his wife had attempted to murder him in his sleep by shooting him in the head.
What the? That has to be one of the most bizarre cases we've seen yet. It has to be like top 5. She wanted to be blind and she just did that. I can't imagine being like I said, thankful for my sight every day, Seekers, because that's one of my worst fears, actually. Not being able to see. Damn. She went through it with it too.
Just when I thought I heard about all the worst cults in history, this one had to come and blow them out of the water. This is Colonia Dignidad. They were a German torture cult hiding out in the Chilean wilderness after World War II, aka Yazis. And to show you how terrible they were, let me tell you a story. That's a quick reminder, if you want more info, you can check out the podcast. The leader of this cult was a known child abuser, and he wanted more Chilean boys to be brought to him. So he started a hospital in the community and used it as a trafficking system to get more children. One day, a young Chilean boy choked and was rushed to the hospital. And right when he got there, a nurse scooped him up, brought him to a room, and saved his life. But later that day, his sister arrived and asked a nurse when she could pick him up to take him home. And the nurse responded that they needed to monitor him for a few more days, which is pretty suspect in a choking case. So a few days later, she comes back and she's like, okay, can I get my brother? And the nurse tells her that he's not there anymore. And this is because the hospital had lawyers on staff that were drafting up adoption paperwork when young boys would come in. The cult was able to legally adopt boys in the community without the parents' consent, and the parents had not enough money to do anything about it. There are so many more stories about this place, and I had never heard of it before, so make sure you check out this week's episode for more info.
You don't know the dark truth behind Peppa Pig. Hello, I'm Peppa. and this is my story. I was never a healthy child. My mom struggled with addictions that started before I was born, which gave me several birth defects. I was born with both eyes on one side of my face. I couldn't walk or do almost anything for myself. My dad hated me for it. He blamed me for him never being able to do anything in his life besides taking care of me. He hid me in the house and never let me leave. He thought it was only fair that I didn't get to have a life either. He became very mentally ill after being in the house with me for several years. One day he snapped and wanted to make me normal. He tried to make an eye hole for me on the correct side of my face. That night I passed, and he didn't tell anyone what happened. After 6 months of my brother Georgie and my mum asking what happened to me, he snapped again. He took himself and both of them to the afterlife with me.
These are random laws in the world that you probably didn't know about. In Denmark, when you have a baby, you have to name it within the 33,000 government-approved names. Meaning, you can't name your baby whatever you want. In Utah, you are not allowed to throw fecal matter at anyone. Why is it only illegal in Utah? Why? In France, it is illegal to drive without a breathalyzer in your glove box. They introduced this in 2012 in hopes of reducing the amount of drunk drivers. I love this law. They should have this literally everywhere. In Oshawa, Ontario, you can be fined up to $250 if you climb a tree without a climbing permit.
What?
$250 to climb a tree. In Russia, it is illegal to drive a dirty car. They need to be able to see your license plate. I completely agree with this one. In the UK, according to their 1986 Salmon Act, it is illegal to hold a salmon in a suspicious manner. I don't know what to...
In a sus matter? What the heck? Like I said, there's some weird laws all around the world. I didn't even know that about Denmark. You can't name your baby whatever you want. It has to be approved. That kept a fact, man. We're going to have to check up on these facts. These laws, man. They sound so ridiculous that it doesn't even sound real. But knowing how the world is today, I believe it. At it. Call them out like we see them, Seekers.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. BT.3. There is no one calling. It's the ghost informing you of their presence. The inventors of the Ouija board claim it got its name when they asked it what it should be called. They also asked it what Ouija meant, and it replied, "Good luck." If you're walking and you feel someone behind you, it's a ghost looking at you. The human body can feel the presence of ghosts.
These are facts that will make your skin crawl, part 1. Up first, did you know that women can actually give birth after death? It's extremely rare, but it's called coffin birth. Up next, everybody has definitely heard of the 5-second rule and probably applied it in your life at least once. But did you know in those 5 seconds, minor insects can still crawl on your food after you drop it on the floor, pick it up, and then eat it? Up next, if a black cat looks at you and then suddenly runs away, it means that something unusual is about to happen to you. So if this happened to you recently, then I recommend just staying in your room and not leaving. Finally, did you know that a cockroach can live 9 days without its head before it starves to death? This is absolutely crazy, and as weird as this sounds, I have to see it to believe it.
Me too. Like a chicken before lived like a day without its head, so maybe it's not that far-fetched. Check those out, my older videos, those older clips we saw together. You're gonna learn.
In 2021, the scientific community made a remarkable discovery. The world's first preserved dinosaur butthole that scientists describe as perfect and unique. The fossil is over 100 million years old, and at first scientists thought that it was just any other old fossil until they got a closer look and realized that the hole was incredibly well preserved. British paleobiologist Jacob Vinther had the pleasure of discovering this unique find. Scientists say that this dinosaur bum will help us determine if birds evolved from dinosaurs, and they found some interesting facts about the cloacal vent, which is the scientific name for the dinosaur butthole. They found that the hole had multiple functions, and it was used for for peeing, pooping, breeding, and egg laying. And the vent is also so well preserved that they can even see 2 small bulges inside, which may be a scent gland used during mating process. The booty fossil belongs to the Psittacosaurus, which looks kind of like a Triceratops, but is the size of about a Labrador Retriever, which really just wants me to have a pet dinosaur the size of a dog. Like, how awesome would that be? Oh, and the cherry on top is they even found fossilized dinosaur poop stuck inside. If you like dinosaur booty, follow.
Facts that you probably didn't know until now. A lot of us are used to taking flights that last anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, but did you know that the shortest flight in the world only lasts 57 seconds? A Logan Air flight between Scottish Islands West Ray and Papa West Ray only lasts 57 seconds and travels a distance of 1.7 miles. Like, bitch, I could run that. Another fun fact is one about elephants. Did you know not only do they hear out of their ears, but they can also hear out of their feet? Typically, to hear normal distances, elephants will open their ears like that and scan back and forth to hear. But to help them hear noises that are far away, they'll freeze, lean on their front legs, and that's how they hear. And lastly, we all know and love Pringles. Who doesn't love a good Pringle? The man responsible for creating the iconic Pringles can is named Frederick Bauer, but that's not the fun fact. The fun fact is that when he passed away, it was his dying wish that his remains be put in a Pringles can. His children honored the wish.
Yeah, like you said, everybody love Pringles. I think I got a Pringle jar right there. It's crazy. And how elephants can hear through their damn freaking legs? What the hell we learned in today's Seekers? I mean, through their legs, yeah. Where's the sky, man? It is. Like I said, if y'all see any other Seekers, man, comment down below, because I might miss some, and we help each other out.
Scary things you never knew. The last one is crazy. If you knew your mom wasn't home, but you heard somebody at your door with her voice, would you answer?
Nope.
Do you want to know who your secret crush is? It's the second person you see when you click share and more. In 1991, Philip Lewis, who we know as Mr. Mosby on Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, took a woman's life while drunk driving. His blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. But since Maryland didn't have strict laws on drunk driving yet, he only served about 1 prison year and some community service. No one can comment under this video and give 0 likes. If there is a comment with 0 likes, you are the chosen one. Before we get to the last scary thing, please support this page by clicking the follow button for more interesting posts every day. 2 cops were called to a graveyard to investigate noises when they heard this.
He said, hell no.
Yeah, comment below what you think that was.
One of the biggest
I don't know what that was shrieking.
2023 was that missing teen Alicia Navarro reappeared in Montana. Alicia was missing for almost 5 years after she left home one night in 2019. Her family and the community searched relentlessly for her for the last 4 years. But in July 2023, she reappeared, showing up at a police station in Montana and asking to be taken off the missing persons list. Here's an overview of her story. 14-year-old Alicia was a sweet young girl who loved to spend time in online gaming forums such as Minecraft and Discord. In 2019, she began acting a little bit differently than she always had. When she was younger, Alicia had been diagnosed with high-functioning autism, so for most of her life, she thrived from routine. But in 2019, this had recently changed. She was showing interest in new things, such as comic books, classic rock, and fitness products. She also began to express interest in things like body spray, makeup, and somewhat provocative clothing, and her mother, Jessica, assumed that these changes were the result of peer pressure at her high school. On September 14th, 2019, Alicia stayed home from school after having a particularly anxious day. She spent the day with her mother, and then that night, she stayed up late playing games online, which was normal for her. Sometime between 12 and 1 a.m., she went downstairs for a glass of water, told her mother that she loved her, then headed back to her room. Around 7 o'clock the next morning, Jessica went downstairs and found that the back door to their home was wide open. In the backyard, she found 2 chairs stacked up against each other, placed against the fence. And when she went to check on Alicia, she realized that she was gone. On Alicia's desk was a note that read, quote, "I ran away. I will be back, I swear. I'm sorry." Jessica immediately reported her daughter missing to police, and she knew that she was particularly vulnerable and was likely manipulated to sneak out. A silver alert was issued for Alicia, and the case gained national attention. But unfortunately, it led nowhere. While Alicia had taken several of her belongings, she also left behind things like chargers, indicating that she was planning to come back. There were sightings of Alicia, but she remained missing, and Jessica started to appeal to the public for help in finding her daughter. But Alicia was nowhere. 2023. In July, now 18, almost 19-year-old and asked for help getting off a missing juvenile police station. A neighbor of the house that she was living in heard her yelling with the man she lived with, but the neighbor only heard her say, "I will go back." It's been reported that Alicia wanted to get taken off that juvenile missing list so she could obtain a driver's license and start living a, quote, normal life. The man she was living with was questioned, but he was released with no charges. And authorities reported that by all accounts, Alicia seemed to be safe and that she had left willingly. Go to part 2.
Lady married her dead boyfriend. In 1978, in a small town in Ohio, there was a woman named Linda Smith who was head over heels in love with her boyfriend. They had talked about marriage endlessly, but just weeks before their wedding, her boyfriend tragically died in a car accident. Linda was devastated. Her boyfriend named Lemmy Leaf was the best boyfriend ever to her. One evening, Linda couldn't take it anymore, and she dug up her boyfriend's grave with the help of her 2 brothers. She announced she was still going to marry him. The townspeople were baffled, and some thought grief had driven her mad. Linda planned an eerie wedding party and invited everyone, wearing a white dress beside Max's corpse in a suit. Then came the twist. Linda didn't plan on returning her boyfriend to his grave. Instead, she decided that they will live together and have a family. All her friends and family saw her as a mad woman, but she didn't care. She kept her boyfriend inside a refrigerator and would occasionally bring him out for a walk. About 11 months later, she got pregnant. But you already know how she got that child.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. Laura says that she works in a palliative unit, and many dying patients claim to see nuns. The nuns are said to be dressed in all white or all black. She said that many patients' last words before they died were related to the nuns. She said that one time a patient told her, "Will you tell the nun to stop waking me up at night?" She kept waking me up to see if I was okay. On another occasion, she asked a patient who he was talking to, and he replied, "The nun sitting over there." One night, Laura was sitting down, and she noticed someone dressed in all black go into a patient's room. She found it odd for a visitor to come in at 2 a.m., especially since the patient never had visitors before. She decided to peek in the room to see who the visitor was, but when she walked in, there was no one there. The patient passed later that night, even though Laura says that when she put him to bed that night, he didn't seem close to death at all. Laura says that it freaks her out when the patients talk about the nuns.
If you hear bones,
the nun is real.
You at night, you better run. The Gashodokaru are a yokai from Japanese folklore dating back 1,000 years. They are described as malevolent skeletal giants that can be as big as 15 times the size of a human. It's said that these giants wander around in the middle of the darkest nights, and if they see a human, they'll sneak up behind them. The last thing the victim will hear is the clinking of bones and the chattering of teeth before the Gashodokaru reaches down with its skeleton hands to crush them, bite off their head to drink their blood. According to the folklore, these things are created when people died from war and famine and didn't receive a proper burial. Unable to move on, their souls become angry ghosts, and when hundreds of them gather together, their hatred ferments and twists into this supernatural force, bringing the bones of the deceased together into this gigantic and horrific form. They're thought to be indestructible, so the only way to ward them off is with a Shinto charm. But what do you think of the Gashodokaru? Make sure to leave a comment and like and follow this channel for more 4TN content.
I think the Gashodokaru, boy, if I've ever heard of that freaking anime called Attack on Titan, I'm guessing that's where it took the inspiration from, because those designs are kind of similar, bro. Hey man, like we said, we finding out watching these videos together that all pieces of media, man, they originate from somewhere, bro. Folklore, rumors, legends. That's what I learned, bro, watching these videos together with you guys. Edit.
Imagine
Imagine going into surgery to try to fix a condition, but you actually come out looking much worse. Well, that's exactly what happened to 29-year-old Kayla Cannon. She was born with congenital ptosis, which is basically a condition where your eyes droop, and she wanted to fix this problem, so she went to a specialist, and then she came out looking like this. Kayla decided to get this procedure done with Dr. Harvey Chip Cole, who's located in Atlanta. This doctor made a ton of mistakes during this procedure, one of them being removing half of her eyelids, which caused a lot of tightness and left her looking like this. After the botched surgery, Kayla had a serious infection and could barely close her eyes because of how tight they were. And she had to undergo 7 additional surgeries to correct the damage, and she was left with these permanent scars. Kayla's devastated because she feels like she went through this procedure only to look worse than what she did, and this is the first time that this doctor did something like this. This is another patient who was also botched, and she came out right after Kayla spoke out about this doctor. And the crazy thing about this is that he is still practicing.
Take his license away.
Disturbing backstories. This might look like a normal family photo, but the reality is terrifying. The man in the yellow sweater is named John, and he's holding a baby named Heather. Heather grew up thinking she was adopted by John's brother, making John her uncle. But one day, a phone call changed everything. She had overheard a phone call saying her uncle was arrested. John Edward Robinson was connected to the deaths of multiple missing women, including 19-year-old Lisa Stassi, who was last seen with her 4-month-old daughter Tiffany, who went missing. And that's when Heather realized she's Tiffany. The man she thought was her uncle was actually her mother's killer. John had faked adoption papers and tricked his own brother into adopting his victim's daughter. And for 15 years, no one knew the truth. Follow for more.
Did you know
he never knew
McDonald is no longer the mascot of McDonald's because of a chilling incident in 2010? This terrifying tale took place in Cuernavaca, Mexico. At a local McDonald's, a statue of Ronald McDonald sat on a bench, a popular spot for photos. Everything seemed normal until one night, when 2 gas station workers from across the street decided to take a break. One went to the bathroom while the other sat next to Ronald, saying, "I'm tired." To his horror, Ronald replied, "Me too." The man, stunned and terrified, leapt from the bench and suffered a fatal heart attack. Hearing the commotion, the second worker rushed out of the bathroom. He saw something so terrifying that he shared the story with everyone he could. However, days later, he fell into a coma and passed away. McDonald's allegedly erased the security footage from the gas station's cameras and quietly removed most of the Ronald statues. This eerie event might explain Ronald McDonald's near disappearance from the brand.
I'm about to show you one of the...
I've always wondered, why he's like evaporated from the brand. Maybe something, I don't know if it was like remote activated but had automated responses, but that's sure... that's a solid reason why they got rid of him. Or did something else happen?
Most interesting graves in Texas. It's in the Texas State Cemetery in Austin. I visited the other day. It was a cold, dark day. If you walk into the cemetery, you'll notice all the Texas flags and the Texas monuments. These people that were buried here were proud to be Texans. But if you keep walking, you'll notice the Confederate field where Confederate soldiers are buried, and right next to that is the grave of Albert Sidney Johnson. He was at one point considered the strongest general in the Confederacy. He was killed possibly by one of his own troopers. He was killed during the Civil War at the Battle of Shiloh, possibly by one of his own soldiers, and his body was initially buried in New Orleans, but he was moved back to Texas. In 1905, a sculptor was hired to create this monument, and let me tell you, it's eerie because it depicts Albert Sidney Johnson exactly how he looked as he lay dying on the day of his death. It's an eerie monument, it's life-size, it's right in the shadow of Stephen F. Austin's grave at the top of the hill here at the cemetery, and it's very, very, very interesting to see in person.
He was pointing at it. Like, is it connected or something? The whole sculpture, the last moment of before you leave the world, that's definitely eerie.
I don't know if you guys know who these people are, but this is Alana and Brock, and they have a family vlogging channel. They live in Australia, and Alana makes a ton of TikToks about her daughter, Daisy, and how she's sick. Okay? It has just been found that her daughter does not have all of these sicknesses that they previously thought she did, and she was actually being poisoned. Now, Alana had just come on TikTok not too long ago crying and saying how her daughter had brain tumors, all through her scans, and her daughter has been sick for a very, very long time. It was found that increased high levels of benzodiazepines were found in Daisy's bloodstream that was leading to her sicknesses. Alana has been profiting off of Daisy's sickness. She has GoFundMe pages, all of her TikToks that are now deleted, the whole page is deleted. All of it has been her doing this to her daughter, allegedly. Daisy's dad said he had no clue about any of this, and the children, because they had multiple kids, were taken out of their care, and right now Daisy is recovering.
So Amy Slayton from
Clout was dangerous, man.
Sisters was just arrested, and the way she was arrested is an actual fever dream. Like, honestly, I feel bad because if this goes the wrong way, she could lose custody of her children. So on Labor Day, Amy Slayton, her boyfriend, and 2 children went to a safari park in Alamo, Tennessee. It's basically like a drive-through zoo where you can feed the animals and pet them if they let you. We don't know exactly how it went down yet, but sources are saying that Amy was bit by one of the camels. I don't know if the injury was so bad that Amy called the police or if it's just the park's policy to call the authorities anytime someone is bit by an animal, but the police were called, and when they approached Amy's car, they immediately smelled some green flour, if you know what I mean. And when the authorities looked inside, they allegedly saw the flour and some special mushrooms in plain sight. Amy and her boyfriend Brian Lavorne faced charges of illegal possession of Schedule 1 and Schedule 6, and because the children were in the car, they also faced 2 counts of child endangerment. We know that the children are safe and staying with Amy's family members, but Tennessee's Child Protective Services are still investigating, so this could end very badly for Amy. And as of now, I'm pretty sure Amy is still in the Crockett County Jail on a $10,000 bond. I am unaware if Thousand Pound Sisters is even filming right now, but if you are, let me know in the comments.
Oh, they're TV stars, what the hell?
Out loud, you might die. Hello, my name is Tamino, the creator of the poem Tamino's Hell. I was a boy who lived in Japan. I had very strict parents who would commonly give me cruel and unfair punishments, and was beat by my sisters. One day, I wrote this poem about my journey through hell, fueled by my sisters. But be careful, do not read it out loud. My parents found this poem and dragged me to the cellar and locked me in for several days. They did not bring me food or water, and I passed away due to starvation. My spirit now haunts this poem, and anyone who reads it out loud will be cursed with the same feelings of helplessness and despair that I once felt, as well as extremely bad luck, including accidents, sudden illness, or loss of their voice, and eventually loss of life. So don't risk it, and always remember...
Dirty Facts About History That They'll Never Teach You in School, Part 4. In her famous diary, Anne Frank originally wrote many explicit details involving her lady parts, menstruation, and pleasuring herself. Her father, Otto, cut those parts out. John Harvey Kellogg, one of the Kellogg brothers who invented breakfast cereal, advocated for sewing silver wires through boys' foreskins to prevent them from masturbating. In 1969, Yoko Ono released a film entitled Self-Portrait, consisting of a 42-minute shot of her husband John Lennon's semi-erect member. Following its initial screening, the film was never shown again. Often referred to as the father of vegetarianism, Sylvester Graham shunned alcohol, white bread, meat, and lust. He popularized whole grain food products and originally invented the graham cracker in the early 1800s to stop people from masturbating or having sexual desires. In 1851, Graham died of complications from an opium enema at the age of 57.
Damn, he was still young, man. Those facts blow my damn mind. People back in the day were had some extreme methods, man. To say the least.
This man vanished in the 90s, and then 30 years later, mysteriously showed back up on his family's doorstep with no explanation. This is the bizarre case of Vasile Gorgos. In 1991, Vasile Gorgos, a 63-year-old cattle seller from eastern Romania, disappeared without a trace after leaving for a business trip. Through his work in the cattle business, he would frequently travel to other cities. He bought a train ticket as he usually did and told his wife and kids he'd be back in a few days. He left that day, but never returned. His family reported him missing to the authorities, but after months of searching, they feared the worst.
Police theorized he met with foul play, and his relatives knew he wouldn't intentionally run away as he had a family and worked extremely hard for his cattle business. It was ultimately determined that he most likely passed, and his family held a memorial service for him. Fast forward to August 2021. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when an unknown vehicle stopped in front of the Gorgos' home. An older man stepped out as the car quickly sped away, and to everyone's shock, who got out of the car? It was Vasile. His family was in complete shock. He was now 93 years old. He was clean and wearing the same clothes he wore 30 years prior when he went on that ill-fated trip. Along with his clothing, they also found that train ticket he bought 30 years ago, along with some identification. But he barely recognized his family, and seems to have no memory of where he's been the past 30 years. He seems to remember events before the time he disappeared, but nothing from the 30 years he was missing. And after the media got a hold of this story, people had so many questions. As for the car that dropped him off that day and sped away, neighbors said they weren't able to get the license plate or see what the driver looked like. This is one of the strangest stories I've ever heard, and many like myself wonder what happened and who dropped him off that day. Some have pointed to him possibly having another family. Others have speculated a glitch in the universe or time travel. Personally, I am stumped. What are your theories? Where was he those 30 years?
It's a glitch, bro. Like they said, glitch in the matrix. Something happened, bro. That much time
You're
gone.
out and about and see a duplicate of yourself standing in front of you. And I'm sorry, my friend, but the end is near. Well, at least according to Irish folklore. You see, today we're looking at an entity called the Fetch. Now, the Fetch is a very simple concept. It's an exact duplicate of you. Though its appearance is regarded as an omen, usually indicating that your time is near, my friend. Though according to some, the time of day a Fetch appears completely changes what it's meant to be indicating. So if you see a Fetch in the morning, according to some, it's actually a good sign indicating a long life. This folklore series is quite fun, isn't it? Are you ready for the next episode?
I'm going to warn everybody right now, the case that we're about to cover is easily one of the most disturbing true crime stories I've ever heard in my life, so viewer discretion is really advised for this one. This is Kevin Davis. He was 18 years old back in 2014 when this horrific event took place. Kevin lived here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and shared an apartment with his mother, Kimberly, and his sister, Destiny. On May 26, 2014, Kevin snapped. He had been having homicidal thoughts for a long time, but on that particular day, he decided to bring his dreams and his fantasies into reality. On that morning, Kevin told his mother, Kimberly, that he wanted to unalive himself, and she told him that she couldn't stop him if he wanted to. After hearing this unexpected response from his mother, Kevin went into a rage. He grabbed a cord and attempted to strangle his mother on the couch where she was sitting. But his mom, Kimberly, managed to fight him off, and in a panic, Kevin went into the other room and grabbed a hammer. Now this is where it gets really disturbing, so if you're still here with me and you have a weak stomach, don't keep listening. Kevin then bashed his own mother's skull in with the hammer, hitting her at least 20 times, and he then grabbed a knife from the kitchen and inserted the knife into the head wound. At that point, Kimberly's head was opened up, she had a massive head wound, and her brain was exposed, and Kevin stuck his hand into his own mother's head and played with her brains. He later told detectives that it felt like putty. Now, after his mother was dead, Kevin dragged her corpse into another room and her, which is unbelievably shocking and disgusting. After all this was said and done, he went to a neighbor's house, told them to call 911, told them that he had just murdered someone, and he was arrested without incident. When Kevin ultimately arrived at the police station, he was brutally honest with investigators about his crimes. I listened to the entire interrogation, and I cannot unhear some of the things that he told investigators. It's vile and shocking. But at one point, he smiles at the investigators with a little grin and says, "Yes, I guess I lost my..." to a corpse. After his trial, he was handed down a sentence of life in prison. He's still alive, he's still in Texas right now, and he even admitted to investigators that if he was given the chance, if he were out on the street again, he would kill again. I'm sorry to have to fill your guys' minds with this stuff, but this is a truly disturbing case that I can't stop thinking about because of how horrific it is, and yeah, I cannot believe that
this happened.
No words for that case, man. Speechless. Let's look at that.
This case is considered law enforcement's most baffling case. Jason Jolkowski was born on June 24th of 1981. Jason's parents were Jim and Kelly. Jason was incredibly loved, and he would become a big brother when his little brother, Michael, was born. Jason was more of a quiet kid. He didn't really have like a huge group of friends. He was very mindful about the people he let into his life, so he did have a small group of friends, and he was very loyal to them. But Jason was also incredibly intelligent. He had dreams of being a radio DJ, and he did work part-time while he was in college as a DJ, and people said that when he was on radio, he became very peppy and lively. Like, it was a completely different personality. He was very talented at being a DJ. He was currently taking a break from his classes at the community college he was going to in Iowa because his parents simply could not afford it. But he very much planned on going back to school. He had just recently gotten another job that offered tuition reimbursement, and he was very excited to continue his studies so he could become a radio DJ. But on top of wanting to be a radio DJ, he also was very religious and talked about maybe one day becoming a priest. Jason was not the kind of kid that was involved in partying or drugs. He was a very studious and responsible young man. But before he was starting this new job, he was currently working a job at Fazoli's. On June 13th of 2001, Jason was called into work. His boss called him and asked if he would come into work early that day at Fazoli's. Jason agreed to this, but his car was currently in the shop getting work done to it, so he told his boss that he would just walk to work, which would have been about 4 miles away from his home in Omaha, Nebraska. But his boss said, we have another person coming in, I can have them come pick you up and take them to work. So Jason agreed to meet with this person at the high school that both him and his co-worker had gone to school at. This would have been about 8 blocks away from his house, or half a mile. They agreed to meet at the school at 11 a.m. and the last known sighting of Jason was about 10:45 in the morning when their neighbor saw Jason and his younger brother Michael taking the trash cans from the street back to the garage. This would have been about 10:45. Jason is then seen walking toward his high school right after taking these trash cans back from the curb to the house. And sometime in this 10-minute walk, it would have been about 10 minutes to get from his house to the high school, Jason simply vanishes. We'll get into more in part 2. Give me a couple of minutes to film it and get it up. It'll be down in the comments.
Yeah, I know what we do. I seek the truth.
The most dangerous water slides in the world. This water slide was designed to have a loop at the end. When it was tested though, riders had injuries. Many had nosebleeds and a dummy was even decapitated. However, they still opened it to the public. When one woman got stuck on the loop, they finally closed it down. This water slide drops you 60 feet vertically and is known as the Leap of Faith. You can also be sent through a hammerhead and shark lagoon too. The sharks will come inches from the glass right up next to you. The tallest water slide in the world is the Burrup. This shoots you out at 70 miles per hour. When a 10-year-old boy's raft went airborne though, he passed away and the slide was brought into question. The owner lied when he said he didn't know what happened. There had been no safety regulations and the owner knew it. So the owner got charged with second-degree murder.
Things people do for money.
Facts that might ruin your day. There have been at least 2 fatal plane crashes due to wasps. We are all spending more than 6 hours a day on our phones, which is more than 25% of our entire existence. There are job applications out there that are only for collecting data. This is why large companies have positions that they never actually seem to hire. This wildlife painter from the 1800s would eat all of the birds that he painted. Bald eagles, owls, sparrows, robins, whooping cranes. 5,000 mail carriers are attacked by dogs every year. A 6-year-old's family thought he was too friendly with strangers, so they had a coworker that was a stranger to the boy hold him in a truck for 4 hours before lecturing him about stranger danger. Half of all plastic in the world has been created in the last 15 years. Crayons have a derivative of beef fat called stearic acid that is also what gives it its waxy smell. Loneliness can be as harmful to somebody's health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
We have a massive update on the people that were stuck upside down for over an hour. And this will make you never want to ride a ride ever again. So this took place during a middle school field trip in Portland, Oregon. And the full story behind this gets insane. Because not only are people saying that they're never going on a roller coaster again, but that the people that were stuck upside down for so long are going to have permanent effects. Because they were on so long, and even doctors have been saying that this is going to have a lot of issues. Because with too much blood to the brain, but now the people that were on the ride are finally talking about it. This guy just said that it was really scary. This guy said, still bleeping suffering from severe migraines due to being trapped upside down for 26 minutes at Oaks Park. Another person says, I was on this ride at Oaks Park with my little brother. He fainted and still has a migraine. We were forced to finish the ride, which was awful. But this guy Stu left the funniest comment I've ever seen. Oh, isn't Stu so funny?
World's most hate.
Hey man, just a little known fact about me to my seekers out there. I'm not a like avid, ride of roller coasters. It's rare, but that's just something I can't do. The heights and stuff. That's one of the reasons why I stay away from the coasters, man.
Dangerous attractions, let's go. This Gap Bridge in China, located in the province of Chongqing, this theme park is known for its dangerous attractions, such as this Gap Bridge hanging 500 feet above the ground. Your goal is to walk across it without falling, but don't worry, you're held by a harness. This cliff swing in the same park. You get to sit on the swing over this 1,000 feet cliff. The ride lasts around 5 minutes, and apparently you get to enjoy this amazing view. Caminito del Rey in Spain. This one is definitely not made for people that are scared of heights. You'll have to hike for around 4.8 miles in scary conditions. From broken path to walking on metal bars, it reminds me of the game Uncharted. Cave diving in the Ikitakni River. This river is located in Florida, which allows you to dive in a very long but narrow cave with some holes sometimes smaller than your hips. Don't go there if you have claustrophobia.
Yeah, I can't do that. That's way too small. Imagine getting stuck. Nah, I'm good on that, man. That's a place I will not be going to. Add it.
Here are some secrets hidden in everyday things. And have you ever wondered why movie theater seats are usually red? That's because in the 18th century, Italian opera houses had red seats. And this was a way to attract wealthy theater goers. Not only that, but red also has a longer wavelength for our eyes to detect. And this makes it harder to see in the dark. So when the lights go down in the movie theater, it'll all be dark. Now, bread tags actually do a lot more than just sealing the bread in the package. The different colors actually let employees know when to stock the bread. But it can also help us customers shop smarter, because each color represents a different day of the week that the bread was baked. Blue for Mondays, green for Tuesdays, red for Thursdays, white for Fridays, and yellow for Saturdays. So next time you shop for bread, make sure you pick the one that's the freshest.
Noted. We're
There
learning.
is so much toxic pollution in Pakistan right now that it can literally be seen from space. This was Pakistan's Punjab province and parts of northwest India in August, and this is what it looks like right now. And let me just put this into perspective. According to IQ Air, which tracks global air quality, a reading above 300 is considered hazardous to a person's health. But the air quality index in Pakistan's second largest city on Monday was 1,200. Schools and government offices have been ordered to close. There's been a ban on all outdoor activities, and tens of thousands of people have been treated for respiratory issues. In fact, recently India's air pollution has been found to be so bad that experts have warned that this smog could take years off of the lives of hundreds of millions of people. And if you're wondering where the hell does this smog come from? Well, it comes from a number of pollutants, including farmers burning waste, coal-fired power plants, traffic, factories, and most recently, Diwali, which saw millions of people celebrate by lighting fireworks and crackers. You can only ride this roller
Was
coaster
y'all on that list?
This guy designed a roller coaster called the Euthanasia Coaster, and is capable of holding up to 24 passengers. Once everyone's on board, it starts slowly ascending up a massive hill, which is the tiniest bit smaller than the tallest building in America. Once the roller coaster is at the top, it gives everybody the decision to turn back. Once everybody clicks the button, it goes down the hill at 300 miles an hour, and then goes through 7 different hoops, each getting smaller and smaller. It's designed like this so riders maintain 10 Gs of force for 60 seconds. Everyone on the roller coaster's blood would rush to their feet, leaving no more blood in their brain. This causes them to lose their vision and eventually black out and die. And it's designed for people with uncurable diseases who wanted an unpainful death. Like and subscribe for more daily facts.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. This sweet looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. This photo of Richard Hickok and Perry Smith shows 2 murders after hearing that they'd been sentenced to death. They murdered a family of 4 and planned to rob them, but they found nothing worth stealing except for a mere $50. The girl on the left is wearing a wire. The girl on the right has no idea. Together they stabbed one of their friends to death, and the girl on the left confessed to the police and is now cooperating with them. Besides the pixelation, this looks like a couple getting married surrounded by their loved ones. However, all the children in this photo were horribly physically and mentally abused until a couple of them managed to escape.
News that will give you hope.
You never know.
This woman swept out to sea while at the beach was rescued after 37 hours of drifting over 50 miles in an inflatable swim ring. Overdoses have decreased for the first time in over 5 years. This stranger saved a 4-year-old from a flying puck at a hockey game. Every country has now banned the use of leaded gasoline in cars, with Algeria being the last one a couple years ago. Bruno was able to get a fresh start and a new life after 473 days in a shelter. A study of over 2 million people found that eating cheese is healthy for aging because of the lower stress that you experience in life. The amount of sugar consumed by kids in the United Kingdom halved in 1 year after a sugar tax was introduced. Scientists have developed a glowing dye that sticks to cancer cells, which helps scientists prevent cancer from coming back. This nearly extinct pupfish has hit a 25-year high with their population. There are less than 200 of them in one single cave in the Mojave Desert of Nevada.
Whoa. Those facts there brighten about my day. Let's hope in the world yet.
Signs that are angels and
Stumble across one of these historical items, you'd be an instant billionaire. Head to this temple in Kerala, India, and you'll make a lot of money, because the last person that opened a chamber here found over $20 billion worth of treasure inside. But
what?
There's a catch. No one will open the 2 remaining vaults because, according to local legend, they're protected by 2 giant serpents. So if snakes aren't your thing, then perhaps try looking for the Tsar's lost treasure. Just off the coast of the beautiful Nantucket Island is a ship carrying billions worth of gold. Grab a scuba set and try, but be warned, because the shipwreck is over 80 meters deep and is infested with sharks. And finally, keep your eyes open for this skull, the Peking Man. First found in World War II, the skull is one of the most important fossils to ever be found. But the thing is, we lost it. It was last seen in 2 carefully packed crates leaving China, so if you find it, kindly bring it back and earn yourself hundreds of millions.
Wow. A
The
skull
most
is worth that
dangerous
much?
water slides in the world. This water slide was designed to have a loop at the end. However, when it was tested, riders had injuries. Many of them had nosebleeds, and a dummy was even decapitated. However, they still went on to open it to the public. But when one woman got stuck on the loop, they finally closed it down. Next, this water slide drops you 60 feet vertically. It's called the Leap of Faith. You're also sent through a shark lagoon. The sharks will swim inches away from the glass right next to you.
Imagine if the shark got through the glass. I'm good on that.
Scary things hidden in photos.
Just a girl walking alone. But wait, she is holding someone's hand. Who is that?
Siblings posing for photo. Freddy Krueger. Just friends taking picture after duty. Who is she? Normal photo of girl sitting in a bench. Slenderman was standing behind her.
These edits.
Just a photo of man. Who's that behind the door? Just a girl photo? Look closely. Just a normal photo at wedding. Who is that?
These photos, man, we learned watching these videos together with you guys, man. Photos tell a story. All you have to do is just piece it together. Some of those look like edits, though. The Slenderman.
Here's some facts you didn't know, part 212. In March of 1981, photographer Carl McCunn paid a bush pilot to fly him to a remote lake in Alaska. He packed plenty of supplies and planned to stay until August, but Carl made a fatal error. He forgot to plan a flight to pick him up. When he didn't return, worried friends had an Alaskan state trooper go and check on him. When the plane found his camp, it circled around and saw Carl waving a red bag in the air. The trooper believed he was signaling in a casual manner and didn't require any help, and he actually left. It wasn't long until Carl realized he had made another fatal error. He gave the pilot the wrong signal. As winter approached and his supplies dwindled, he considered walking the 75 miles to Fort Yukon. But in his current state, he decided against this. A week before Christmas, on December 18th, he decided to end his own life to avoid starving to death.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you, part 2. A French president died from a blowjob. My man Felix Faure literally got his soul sucked out of him. He was both coming and going. The deadliest female serial killer in American history had murdered 35 people with an axe by the time she was 18 years old. When the ruler of Poland, Jadwiga, was considering a marriage proposal from the Grand Duke of Lithuania, her peers were worried because it was rumored that he had massive genitals and would kill his wife on the wedding night. They ended up sending 2 spies to Lithuania to find out if it was true, and they came back and happily reported that there was nothing to worry about. Powdered wigs were originally invented to cover up head sores caused by syphilis. The first person to examine semen under a microscope was Antony van Leeuwenhoek, the father or daddy of microbiology.
People are sending me creepy videos all the time.
Okay.
What would you do if you saw this woman while walking alone at night?
Stand into your soul.
What the was that?
Nope, not a new character. Just a super rare character that you'll probably never see. Meet the bush dog. Now at first glance, it looks like a little bear or Wolverine, but it's actually a 12-inch tall, fully carnivorous canine that's found in the Amazon. And like most canines, they're pack hunters, which makes them the smallest pack hunting canine in the world. They're basically what a Chihuahua wishes they could be. Not to mention, they hunt things like birds and rodents and even capybara. But the cool part is not what they hunt, it's how they hunt. Basically, the pack splits up into 2 groups when it comes time to hunt. One group stays on land, and the other group jump in water. They're really good in water. And the ones on land will find a prey and begin the chase. And usually the instincts of an animal who's running from a predator is to jump in water. You see where this is going? Once they jump in that water, they get ambushed. That will be their last mistake. I didn't know 12 inches could be so deadly. Other than that, we don't know too much else about them. Humans almost never see them. And as always, follow for more facts.
Interesting, man. Land and sea. Makes you wonder what other animals we haven't seen or know a lot about. Gets you thinking.
The strangest fact about each zodiac sign. Okay, firstly, it's scientifically proven that if you're a Gemini, you're good at lying. So the next time you're around a Gemini, you might not want to believe everything they say. Alright, next, if you're a Taurus, the strangest fact about you guys is you all are known to be stalkers. The scary thing is, you might never know they're doing this. Now, this one creeps me out. Out of all the signs, Scorpios are the ones who have the most dark and creepy thoughts. But my question is, what do you all be thinking about? Well, if that wasn't bad enough, Cancers are proven to be the most dangerous. They get arrested the most, and the crimes are usually pretty serious. I'm sorry to say, but if you're a Leo, it's proven that you guys are the worst drivers. Finally, this is probably the most unusual fact of them all. If you're an Aries, it's said that you are obsessed with death. This just doesn't sit right with me.
Leos are the worst drivers? I'm gonna have to look that up.
Hot take, not gonna apologize for it. 1v1, a Wolverine would whoop a honey badger. That Streets made this aggressive bull cut the face of Black Air Force Energy. Old time the Wolverine's the CEO of Cell Block D tendencies. First of all, they're more than capable of hunting for themselves, but some dudes can't be bothered to get their own bread. Instead, they gotta steal from the baker. And by baker, I mean they'll tax animals like wolves, cougars, even bears. Let me remind you, they're about the size of a medium dog, yet the crackhead Courage can have an overgrown Canyon cat backpedaling. And you thought honey badgers were on timing. And they are, but Wolverines, where else are you gonna find a war weasel 2v1ing a pair of wolves? But don't get it twisted, they can hunt, and they are very good at it. They've been known to murk moose by either going after one that's already injured or one stuck in the snow, since Felony Ferret's like a psychopath with snowshoes. And they'll track you down and run your fate like John Wick. This reindeer was injured and likely bleeding, so the travel-sized bear followed it and delivered smoke directly to the face like a cigarette. They've also been known to eat porcupines, or at least die trying. And you can even find a story of a Wolverine packing up a polar bear. Yeah, it was at a zoo, but that's still a fat W. Wolverines have this really bad habit of whenever they find something that doesn't belong to them, they'll immediately soak it with the smell of death, strong enough to make you cry fresh from its brown eye. A smell so offensive they've been nicknamed Skunk Bear. There have been stories of them breaking into cabins, blowing up the place like a truck stop bathroom, and walking out with like a sock or something. Almost forgot, this walking garbage disposal has rotated molars in the back of its mouth, meaning they can chew through solid bone and frozen meat. I'm sorry, but a motivated skunk monkey is absolutely folding an Oreo-coated temper tantrum, but that's just me.
The weirdest things found underwater, part 1. On June 18th, 2021, a woman named Jennifer Dowker was diving in the Sheboygan River in Michigan when she found a stuffed bottle. Inside it was a letter from 1926 which stated, "Will the person who finds this bottle return this paper to George Morrow in Sheboygan, Michigan, and tell where it was found." Jennifer then posted it on social media and it went viral. After some time, George Morrow's daughter saw it and contacted her and said that her dad must have placed the message in the bottle when he was just 18 years old. And in 1944, a boy from Estonia noticed tank tracks leading into a lake, and he saw air bubbles rising to the surface for 2 months straight. He waited for a while, but then moved on. However, decades later, he suddenly remembered that incident and told others about his memories, including the leader of the War History Club. This led to a recovery in 2000 of a Soviet T-34 World War II tank, which had been underwater since 1944.
Damn. Say it with me, y'all. I seek the truth. Moonbase Circle. What's that? Creepy. Found on Google Earth.
You ever see a picture that just gives you, like, full body chills? This photo was captured in 2007, and it seems like kind of a harmless picture, right? There's nothing that's very out of the ordinary. It's taken outside of an apartment window by a woman named Maria Leontinka in Czech Republic. The man was just outside of the apartment. He was screaming, he was shouting, and this woman took the picture because she was going to report it to the property manager, having no idea that something very dark just occurred in that building. Inside that apartment building in 209 was a family of 4, all of which had been decapitated, and it's believed that man who was captured was responsible. Police are then able to connect the dots of another picture that was taken across town on the same exact day. It's believed to have been the same man, that he approached this group of teenagers and he was bragging about what he had just done, and they weren't sure if he was for real, if he was kidding, psychotic, so they took a picture of his face before he eventually ran. And this was the best shot they got. They even sketched the man, but they never found him, and his motive remained unknown.
Eerie.
You know those cases that keep you up at night? Yep, this is one of those. On August 30th, 2005, Paris Talley, who was only 28 days old, was placed in a microwave and cooked by her mother, China Arnold, in Dayton, Ohio. That same day, China had an argument with her boyfriend Terrell Talley over the paternity of baby Paris. Terrell left the house to cool down, and then China went ahead and put Paris in the microwave. She told investigators that she was extremely intoxicated at the time. Paris was in the microwave for more than 2 minutes until she was taken out and placed in a tub of water where her skin started to peel off. The next day, Terrell noticed that Paris had a red burn on her face and she was cold and stiff, so they rushed her to the hospital, but she was already deceased. Terrell told investigators that China admitted to killing their baby, and she told him that if he had never cheated on her, their baby would still be alive. Paris died when the temperature of her internal organs reached 107 to 108 degrees. China was arrested but then released due to a lack of evidence, but then she was re-arrested in 2006. There were multiple trials in this case because prosecutors didn't have real proof that China was the only one responsible for Paris's death. It took 3 trials before a jury found China guilty of aggravated murder, and on May 20th, 2011, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This is probably the most disturbing case I've done so far, and it had me super invested in all of the details, which sometimes can cause some stress and anxiety, especially before bed. I know a lot of you guys may have difficulty sleeping as well, especially when listening to these cases, because I know they can be super disturbing. So I wanted to put you guys on this app. I discovered this app a long time ago, but I didn't give it a shot until now, and let me tell you, it changed my life. It literally calms you down and helps you sleep in less than 3 minutes, so if you need that, then click the link in my bio and download the app.
That was a crazy story, man. Her own daughter.
This is why you should fear for your life if you buy or sell items on Facebook Marketplace. 56-year-old Denise Williams of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, wanted to buy a refrigerator for her boyfriend. She found one listed on Facebook Marketplace. The seller was 26-year-old Joshua Gorgon. Denise went to his apartment alone to check out the fridge, but never came out. On Monday, she was reported missing by her family, and police were able to track her using her phone and information from a Facebook account. She was found dead from multiple stab wounds at Joshua's apartment. Joshua was arrested and charged with criminal homicide. When he was interviewed by Cambria County detectives, he admitted to stabbing Williams to death with a kitchen knife following an argument over the cost of the refrigerator.
Man, those freaking Facebook marketplaces, man, you can find some good stuff at good prices, but rule of thumb, man, never show up alone solo. You gotta bring somebody with you, because you will never know what can go down, man. Or meet in a public place. Don't go to their apartment, man, because people are weird. You can't trust people.
George Parrott, also known as Big Nose George, was an outlaw who committed multiple murders and robberies in the Old West. Doctors Thomas Maggie and John Eugene Osborne took possession of Parrott's body after his death to study the outlaw's brain for clues to his criminality. The top of Parrott's skull was crudely sawn off, and the cap was presented to 16-year-old Lillian Heath, then a medical assistant to Maggie. Heath became the first female doctor in Wyoming and is said to have used the cap as an ashtray, a pen holder, and a doorstop. A death mask was also created of Parrott's face, and skin from his thighs and chest was removed. The skin, including the dead man's nipples, was sent to a tannery in Denver, where it was made into a pair of shoes and a medical bag. They were kept by Osborne, who wore the shoes to his inaugural ball after being elected as the first Democratic governor of the state of Wyoming. Parrott's dismembered body was stored in a whiskey barrel filled with a salt solution for about a year, while the experiments continued, until he was buried in the yard behind Maggie's office.
Eerie stories, man. Experimentation.
Killers That Got Caught for Being Stupid, Part 3. And this is a series I've been doing, so make sure you follow along. I just felt like I had to make this video, but we're going to talk about this guy right here. I remember when the Idaho tragedy first happened, there was this idea going around online that some criminal mastermind had done this, that it was a serial offender that was never going to get caught. When in reality, no, it was just done by this dumbass. And you could tell that he thinks he's the smartest guy ever, but we're here to knock him down a peg. For one, Brian had his phone on him the entire time he was casing the house leading up to the crime and for most of the night he committed the crime. And when the cops got his phone records, he literally drew a map of him driving straight to the crime scene that night. And the reason the cops had enough evidence to grab his phone records was he left part of the weapon he used in the house that night in a room that he locked behind him. So even if he did realize he had left it there, there was no way for him to retrieve it. And he walked straight past one of the surviving roommates, somehow without seeing her, and she was able to give an exact description of him to the police. And the police went to go question Brian because they knew he drove a white Elantra, but the first thing they noticed was that he had the bushy eyebrows that the roommate described the person in the house having. So the next time you see his stupid photo and hear, oh, he was a PhD student, he was learning how to commit the perfect crime, no.
No such thing as the perfect crime, man. You always get caught. It's gonna come back to you.
On April 27, 1964, a one-day-old baby named Paul Franzak was stolen from Michael Reese Hospital in Chicago, Illinois. Paul was the second child of his parents, Chester and Dora Franzak. Their first child had been stillborn. At 9:30 p.m., a woman came into Dora's room dressed as a nurse while Paul was nursing. She unwrapped his blanket, looked at him, and then left without saying a word. At 1:30 p.m., the woman returned and told Dora that she needed to take Paul away to be examined by the doctor. But she never returned. 20 minutes later, a real nurse came into Dora's room to take Paul to the nursery. It was at this point everyone realized that Paul was missing. An immediate search was called of the hospital, but after having no luck finding Paul, the hospital notified police. Police determined that the abductor took Paul down a back staircase, left the hospital through the rear entrance, and took a cab to the vicinity of 35th and Halsted, at which point the trail was lost. The police believed that the abductor had a good idea of the hospital layout and staff routines. After a year of no leads, on July 22, 1965, the FBI contacted Dora and Chester and said that a toddler resembling Paul had been found abandoned outside a store in Newark, New Jersey. This abandoned toddler had been left in a stroller in a busy shopping center and was currently being fostered by a family. The boy was named Scott McKinley by New Jersey Child Protection authorities. FBI agents tested Scott's blood and thought he might be Paul, but DNA testing was not available in the 1960s, and Paul's blood type hadn't been taken before his kidnapping. There was only one photo of baby Paul taken at the hospital, and the FBI couldn't establish the abandoned child's identity. Paul's parents believed Scott was their child and legally adopted him when he was 2 years old. They would go on to raise the toddler as Paul. As Paul grew up, he became suspicious that he wasn't really Dora and Chester's son, as he didn't resemble the rest of the family members. In 2012, Paul would convince his parents to take a DNA test to find out if he really was their biological son. They agreed, and a DNA test proved he was not their biological son. The adopted Paul then enlisted a genetic genealogist to help determine his identity, and they got a match in 2015. His birth name was Jack Rosenthal, and he had 4 siblings. It was also found that he had a twin sister named Jill. Paul's mother, Marie, was a heavy drinker, and his dad, Gilbert, was badly affected by the Korean War. One day, Jack and Jill would mysteriously disappear shortly before their 2nd birthday. Jack and Jill's parents lied about the twins' whereabouts, telling both sides of their family that the children were with the other side. Eventually, the parents warned relatives not to talk about them and removed Jack and Jill from the family photos. Their disappearance would never be reported. His biological parents are now deceased. Jack still has no idea what happened to Jill and hopes to find her someday. The man thought to be Paul is now 49 years old and resides in Nevada. In light of this new information, the FBI reopened the case and began searching for the real Paul Franzak. In December 2019, he was identified through genetic testing as a 55-year-old man living in rural Michigan. The man has been notified of his true identity, but his name and exact whereabouts have not been made public yet.
This story had twists and turns, man. The fact that his sister, him and his sister named Jack and Jill, not like the old story. That's a creepy coincidence. The fact that the parents took away
These
baby
are the most
pictures.
disturbing true crime cases that have ever taken place. Part 1. The Icebox Murders. In 1965, Edwina Rogers, along with her husband Fred, lived in Houston alone with their grown son.
But for the most part, this family kept to themselves, especially their son Charles, who neighbors thought didn't even live with them because he never came outside. But when a close family member that they talked to often noticed that they hadn't talked in a while to the Rogers, they sent over police to investigate the house. When they entered the house, the police couldn't find Mr. and Mrs. Rogers, but they did see food still sitting on the dining room table, so they did a little bit more searching. And when they did, they were not expecting to find what they did. The police found the dismembered full body parts of Edwina and Fred Rogers, along with their two heads decapitated in a vegetable bin. But of course, with their son Charles being the prime suspect since he wasn't there, they went looking for him, but he was never found. And the case is still unsolved to this day.
Wow, what the hell happened to their son?
At around 3 p.m. on December 16, 2004, tourist Lenka Mirzolkova was lounging on West Beach near Adelaide in southern Australia. As she looked across the beautiful calm water, something caught her eye, and she would take this picture of what she was looking at. Now at the time, Lenka thought that maybe she was seeing a very large dolphin, but had she known a little bit more about the local wildlife, she would have realized that she was not looking at a dolphin. About 15 minutes later, or 3:15 p.m., 4 teenage boys were 300 meters offshore enjoying the day in their 4.5-meter aluminum boat. These were 18-year-old Nick Peterson and 16-year-olds Andrew Tomlin, Adam Floriani, and Ty Wheeler. Now, what these 4 boys were doing was taking turns dragging one another behind the boat being towed on a surfboard that was attached by a rope. So they've been doing it for a little while, and Andrew was the first one being towed. When Andrew yells up at the other boys, he says, "Hey guys, my turn's over, I'm done." So they stop the boat, Andrew hops off the board, he goes and climbs back on the boat, and then Nick Peterson jumps in the water to begin to swim to the surfboard. Now, Ty Wheeler, who's on the boat, is looking at Nick when he jumps in. And he says as soon as Nick jumped in and began swimming, something large and black began to surface beneath Nick. But Ty didn't really know what he was looking at first. However, it didn't take very long to find out, because just moments later, a 5-meter or roughly 16-foot great white shark would rise out of the water, and its big giant jaws would latch onto Nick around Nick's left shoulder and his left arm. And it would begin dragging Nick in a circle around the boat. And Nick is screaming and yelling, and he's fighting. He's fighting as hard as he can. He's punching the shark. He's trying to go for its eyes. It's not deterring the shark. And Nick would actually have the wherewithal to yell at his friends, yelling for help, but he would say, "Hey, throw me the board," as in maybe he can hold on to it to keep this shark from pulling him underwater. Unfortunately, as soon as Nick would ask for that board, the shark would pull him under the water, and it would actually pull him under the boat. Now, the boys are trying to hit the shark with the oars on the boat, but it's not doing anything. And as soon as the shark gets Nick under the boat and to the other side, the boys can see the shark releases Nick for a second, and then it re-grabs him, and when it does, its jaws are now around his torso, and the shark bites down and shakes, and Nick is torn in half at the waist, and the shark takes off with Nick's upper half, before the boys say a 4.5-meter great white shark, a second great white shark, comes up and grabs Nick's lower half. The only thing that would ever be recovered of Nick between that day and the next day were 2 small portions of Nick's lungs. The sharks consumed the rest of him.
It's really scary about going out in the water, man. They said they were surfboarding with the boat too. Look how that trip turned out. Be careful, man. When you're out in the water, bro, you never know what's lurking down beneath. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.